What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another Friday night interactive sports talk. Y'all know what it is. It's the Play Caller Sports Talk Show. And I am one half of the dynamic duo, Stephen Box. Joined as always by my co-host, the one and the only.
Cool McCain.
And together we are the
Play
Caller. Yes, sir. Cool. Man, what a crazy week, man. Like, just insane. And we're not even talking about none of the games that were actually played.
No, sir.
So, man, so many topics we got to talk about. I know we got to definitely talk about this whole thing with Deion and Travis Hunter and everything, but we're going to actually push that back just a little bit. So, I want to give some people a chance to get on live, maybe get a little interaction with some folks for that particular conversation. So I'm going to say we go ahead and start off with the week's other big news. And that would be how close your boy, me personally, came to predicting when Urban Meyer would no longer be employed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I had to give my credit in real quick. I said week 12. I was so close, man. I was so close.
Well, if Urban would have had it his way, you'd have been right.
Yeah.
Took a little bit more.
Actually, Urban would have had me a week late if he had his way.
Yeah, Urban been trying to get up out of there, man. So kudos to him for finally getting his wish, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man, like just hearing some of the stories, if even parts of the stories are true, then this dude is definitely trying to get fired. I mean, you rucking in telling your staff that they're losers and you're a winner. You over there allegedly kicking people. And I say allegedly because I think Urban Meyer actually gave that dude money to say that he kicked him. I mean, because like who actually comes out and says, "Yo, man, that dude kicked me 6 months ago." Who does that?
There is a subgroup of people who do things like that. I'm not going to name the group. I'm just going to say that it's a subgroup of people who will do things like that. There are names for that subgroup of people, but we're just going to say there is a group of people, and we're going to roll with that. But for me, man, the whole thing with Urban Meyer is simply this. He never should have got the job. Clearly, any regular non-fan or fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars knew this was not a guy that should have had this job. He told you before the season started, when he hired the strength and training coach that he never should have hired because of all the things he'd done in his background, that he was shady, either a poor judge of character or a poor character himself. And that's why he has people like that around him. Mm-hmm. And also, he's shown you before he'll flake out whenever things aren't going well. There was never an expectation that the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to be good in 2021. So with that being said, you're bringing in a coach. What was he supposed to do? Mentor your quarterback? This guy? Really? I mean, what was the purpose of bringing in Urban Meyer? The only thing that I can think of, and I'm a big fan of AEW, so like the Khan family, but you were trying to make a splash. You're trying to get a name for people to say, oh, they got Urban Meyer. There were several different names that you could have got and made a better splash than getting a guy who wasn't even coaching. So you decided to go that route with your organization. He goes out, doesn't fly home with the team like he should, says it's to spend time with his grandkids. Wife leaving, grandkids leave, whatever. He's at the bar sticking his fingers in places they should not be and doing other unsavory things that a married man should not be doing, especially on camera for everybody to see.
Right.
And they still don't, it seems like really chastise him. They just say, you're going to have to earn back your trust, Urban. How was a guy that didn't deserve trust in the first place going to earn it back when he doesn't even know how to do that? Right. So they allow him to go out, and continue to coach.
Mhm.
Marvin Jones, from reports, was had to be begged to come back. Apparently, James Robinson is not a big fan of Urban Meyer. Big surprise. Guys that
Can't
actually
believe
contribute
that.
to play football are not the fan of a guy that's telling everybody that they suck and he's the only one that's ever won.
Mhm.
I mean, this guy is the opposite of everything you would want in a coach for a young quarterback and to bring a team back that's already a poor team. This guy's like the opposite of everything you would want for that. Jason Garrett would have been a better hire than this guy.
I feel
Because at
like a
least he
lot
would
of
sit over
people,
there
man.
and clap for your quarterback when things were going bad.
I almost wonder, like, was the belief because he was coming from college, he had experience working with young guys, if he would actually be able to coach them up, if maybe that was kind of the initial thought process. But you should have known very early on this wasn't going to work out. And it shouldn't even take you this long to get rid of this dude. The moment that video came out, he should have been gone. And personally, my belief is when that video came out and Urban Meyer realized he's not at Ohio State or at Florida or at Utah where he can get away with things and the local media hides it. Once he realized that that wasn't the case anymore, I think Urban Meyer was ready to get out.
So our comment says Urban Meyer equals Nick Saban in Miami. Honestly, I think you're disrespecting Nick Saban in Miami when you say that. Because Nick Saban actually would have finished the season if he didn't run out on his own. He did realize he was outmatched there, but he at least still had a locker room. Nick Saban, I mean, it's probably the closest thing to this debacle, but I still think, it's a different situation, but it probably is the closest thing to this. I think the difference with Urban Meyer is you've closed a lot of doors probably in college too. You're probably at the point where your next job is going to be at best a coordinator.
Yeah.
After what you've kind of pulled here, but he is getting paid a lot of money to go away. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna pay me a lot of money to go away, maybe I'll roll out for that money. But again,
Yeah.
this is all on the ownership of the Jags. This is the guy that you chose. This was a bad hire.
Yeah. A lot of people like to go to the Nick Saban and Miami comparison, but I'm going to give you another comparison I think is applicable. Pete Carroll's first stint in the NFL.
Yeah, that is probably more applicable.
Because people forget that Pete first stint went so great. He went back to college and then came back to the NFL, and now he might be going back to college again because the wheels look like they're falling off out there in Seattle. And if Russ leaves, Pete might want to go ahead and go take a job in college again, get up out of there, or retire
Yeah,
one.
absolutely. Now, Meyer signed a 5-year deal that's worth between 10 to 12 million annually. So if we take the low number, that's still about 40 million. I'm going to guess it's probably based on how most contracts go. I didn't have a lot of time to look at this with in detail, but based on how most contracts go, it probably escalated. So you probably start off at 10, and then by the end, you'd get 12 a year. But if we just say like 11 a year, just, good middle ground. 4 more years after this year. So you're looking at about 40, probably about 44 million, we'll say roughly, that he's still going to get paid.
Yeah.
Even though he got fired.
Yeah. And the comment there was that Urban doesn't have a good track record. He has a track record of winning, but there's been drama and there's been accusations and shady stuff everywhere he's gone. So,
Every single place.
so from the standpoint of you're bringing in a splashy hire in terms of a guy who's won, yeah, you can make that argument. But the means in which he's won, highly questionable.
And so the funny thing is, I laugh at these guys who never won on the NFL level, but they're considered splash hires, right? Like Matt Rule, for instance. And this is no knock on Matt Rule. He was brought in as splash hire. He's got this long, 10-year contract with the Panthers and all this. And what has he done so far? Right. These college guys need to adjust to the NFL. It's a completely different game. Schemes work different. All the players are elite. Even some of the guys that sit on the bench are better than guys who started in college. So these guys have a hard time adjusting. Now, a guy like Matt Rhule has as many years as he has. As long as the fans here in Charlotte don't run him out, I think he'll, at least get the nod from ownership. But you have to look at, like you said, all the things about a guy when you're bringing him in as a first-time coach from college, right?
Yeah.
You have to look at how much long-term success has he had. Right. You have to look at other things about him off the field, X's and O's, how coaches and players that he's dealt with before feel about him, all those things. And I don't think Jacksonville did due diligence. And I think that's what hurt them the most. And that's what makes this hire the most disappointing, is because it feels like you said, name wins, but I didn't do any due diligence about his character. If I thought what he did in college could translate to the NFL, any of that. I just said, this is my guy, Urban Meyer. He's a name. He's won all these places in college. Yeah. And it didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, man, the track record of winning is there, but pretty questionable when it comes to Urban Meyer. The only real college coach we've had that came in recently that has some success was Kingsbury. But he's doing that with literally his actual college quarterback, a guy who already knew his offense. So they were able to expedite things. They've also had a front office that has gone out and spent money and went and brought pieces in to try to build that team up. And that's why they're having success. You're not seeing a lot of teams do that.
Together. And they've also had a couple of years together. No big drama, right?
Right.
Just plodding along, getting a little bit better. And it just kind of exploded this year, but no drama. Yep. I think if you go back to Kingsbury, track record's probably good. The Cardinals probably did do their due diligence, as you should do as an NFL franchise, and made sure they got a guy that at least on the surface looked like it could work. Now, we could be talking about in 2 or 3 years how Cliff Kingsbury can't get a job done, and he's going to have to be gone. Right. I'm not hoping that on anybody, but I'm just saying, at least for now, you are correct. He's looking like the guy that's bucking the normality of it. But you think about the
we
guys
both know how the NFL works. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he goes out there and they lose their first playoff game this year. And that talk already starts. You know what I'm saying? Like that's literally your leash in the NFL.
Absolutely. You look at guys like, Chip Kelly, different guys we could talk about in the past. Same thing happened. Not ready for the NFL game. But I think guys do have to get an opportunity, but you have to really look at what you're putting out there. You have to really look at the guy that you're giving the reins of your organization to. And if he doesn't have character, this is not a job for him.
Right. Absolutely, man. So, we'll see. What are your thoughts in terms of Jacksonville putting a replacement in? Do you see them bringing in an established head coach? Think they're going to try to bring in a hot assistant? Would they actually bring in another college guy? What do you think they're going to do next?
So what I think they should do is I think they should bring Doug Peterson in as the coach. But more so than the coach.
Could you repeat that? Because I must have clearly misheard you, because it sounded like you just endorsed Doug Peterson for a head coaching job.
I did endorse Doug Peterson for a head coaching job. I think they should bring in Doug Peterson as their head coach. Obviously, Super Bowl pedigree. There's only so many coaches playing right now that have ever won a Super Bowl. I think another thing that they should do is they need to make sure that who he hires. So this is what's more important. Everybody talks about the head coach, but there's 3 positions. And shout out to Brian Snow, if he's watching or if he sees the replay, as the guy who corrected me. I said 2, but there's actually 3. There's 3 important coaching hires on this staff that have to happen. The coach is not even the most important hire, right? The head coach could be a complete blooming idiot, but if he gets the right staff, it's still going to work.
Okay.
The offensive coordinator, that's an important hire. The quarterback coach, that's an important hire. And the offensive line coach, because somebody's got to protect this guy, somebody's got to protect Trevor Lawrence. So what I think people are missing is the fact that if you get a coach that knows how to manage both sides of the offense, right? The thing with Doug Peterson, he really should have been fired from Philadelphia, right? He did some things probably because he was ready to get out, but as far as for what he had done, he really shouldn't have been fired. I think having the right pieces would be important if he were there. I think it's the same for anybody. I know in the comments here we have like Byron Leftwich. Leftwich is a possibility, but again, if he doesn't build the right staff, it doesn't matter. He's not going to be able to go and work out and work with Trevor Lawrence every day. No head coach is going to be able to do that. Who can do that? OC, mainly the quarterback coach. So those two hires are going to be important. You're going to have to get guys that understand the way that Trevor Lawrence plays or the way that you want Trevor Lawrence to play, and that can implement that and help him make the adjustments. Year 1 to 3 is when you want your quarterback to really grow and develop. You blew year 1 with Urban Meyer. So now you got to go out and get somebody that can help turn around year 2 and year 3, so that by the time we're getting to the end of year 3, we're seeing Trevor Lawrence as who we expected him to be. Those, to me, is the most important things. I say Doug Peterson. There's several other guys that you can name as well, but I think he would be a good fit, and he's a positive coach. He's not a guy that's going to go in there and kill a culture. He's never been a culture killer anywhere he's coached at.
Yeah, I think you bring up an interesting point too, because a lot of times people want to, float certain names out there, right? And we're going to certainly hear a lot about, Leftwich. We're going to certainly hear a lot about
the enemy.
The enemy again. You're going to hear some of these guys that have been brought up a few times, but they're still going to be first-time head coaches. And it doesn't matter if they deserve the job. You cannot take a young quarterback who's still learning to play in the NFL and then give them a head coach who now has to actually learn how to be a head coach on top of that. Because now you have two people trying to learn how to do the job together.
Agreed. And
that's not going to work out well.
It never does. Agreed.
Yeah. Now, if you want to talk to me about, another coordinator down there in Tampa, and Todd Bowles, a guy who's actually been a head coach before, I might be willing to have a conversation with you, because at least Todd Bowles doesn't have to learn how to be a head coach. And he has connections. He has networking. He's been in the league long enough that he has people he can bring in. He might actually be able to bring in a good staff. Because guess what the other thing that happens when you're first-time head coach is? You know people, but you don't really know how to put together a staff. You don't actually understand what your needs actually are because you've never done the job before.
Agreed. Sorry.
That's the most we've ever agreed, ever in any conversation.
One more time. Agreed. Listen, man. If you're a Jacksonville fan, if you happen to come across this and you have any part to do with selecting who's the head coach, the coaching staff for your for the team, do not go out and hire one of these sexy names that have never coached before. I can tell you from experience, it does not start off well. Don't know how it ends up, but it does not start off well. So get Trevor Lawrence someone who will put the right pieces in those positions I just talked about. Those are the most important positions for his development. Do not do him like Jalen Hurts. Be better for him.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to, man. It's like you drafted this guy number 1 overall. You got to take care of that investment. That's got to be your number 1 priority.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. So, for those who might just be tuning in, or if you're watching the replay and you're wondering, did you miss us talking about this whole situation with Deion and Travis Hunter and HBCUs and Florida State? You ain't missed nothing. We're gonna talk about it here in a little bit. But before we get to that, we gotta talk a little bit about this COVID thing. Because COVID right now is running rampant. I feel like we are back in 2020 right now. Because we got games getting pushed back. We got people coming up with 25, 30 people testing positive on the team. I'm starting to see basketball games get canceled. So we're starting to see the same stuff we saw happen last year. And this is obviously going to be a little bit of a different situation, right? Because when all the rules that got put in place for COVID, we didn't have the Omicron variant, right? And now they're saying that the current vaccines may not be as effective against it and all this other stuff. So this is a real interesting situation. I know you're not real happy right now about some of the games being rescheduled. So I'm gonna definitely let you speak on that. But yeah, Snowman says Here we go again.
Same old, just a different day.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So we got to talk a little bit about this, man. So here's my question for you. Considering that COVID has evolved and changed, right? And that's kind of changed the game a little bit. So some of the stuff that got put in place before the season isn't necessarily relevant anymore. How do we proceed forward with this? I mean, we're kind of at a point now where we can't just keep pushing games back, rescheduling every week, canceling, because at some point you start messing up people's travel schedules. And I'm not just talking about fans.
Well, what do you mean? It doesn't matter. They canceled a Saturday night game today.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a Raiders
Friday.
fan, today, Friday. If you are a Raiders fan, a Raiders player, you should be highly pissed.
Mm-hmm.
You should be more pissed than Eagles fans are, right? Because you really, 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 really got housed. And here's the thing about it, and this boils down to what I'm so upset about. My thing is forfeits. People say, "Oh, forfeits." No forfeit. We had a game at 1 p.m. Sunday. You push that game to 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Okay? So I get it. Let's look at the numbers because I actually looked at numbers for this. This is how upset I was. The Washington football team has 20 players. This was as of the 16th, so as of yesterday. That's the numbers I could find that kind of gave me more teams than just the football team, because everywhere you can find about the football team in Cleveland, but there's other teams as well. So the football team has 20 players. Cleveland has 14 players and the coach. The Chicago Bears have 10 players. They play the Minnesota Vikings, who have 7 players. The Giants have 8 players. The Rams have 13.
Did those numbers drop? Because it was like 25 just yesterday.
Well, like I said, this is what was stated as of yesterday, that they had 11 players. This is for the Sporting News as of yesterday. So this is, like I said, maybe some people got off, but this is what the best I could find, which was as of yesterday. So some of those numbers probably have increased between yesterday and today. But so just going off these numbers, if we're saying that over 10 people should cause the game to be moved, right? I know earlier in the week I saw numbers that were higher for some teams. So I say this. My issue is it's not necessarily the number, if one number's right or if one number's wrong. I know that's, you're looking it up or whatever, but that's not even the point. The point is not if it's 12, if it's 15, if it's 20. That's not the point. The point is this. You knew certain teams were trending in a direction that they were going to need, that they were going to have a lot of people that were not going to be able to play. So if you wanted to move the game, why did you wait until Friday? So I looked this up as well. If you were flexing a game from 1 o'clock on Sunday to 8:30 or to 4, you have to make sure you do that 12 days prior.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to do that 12 days prior, how come you can't do 3-4 days prior to the games being played on Sunday?
Right.
The football team had a lot of guys that were positive earlier in the week. The Rams had a lot of guys. The Chargers had 11 players, and they played on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
They had over 10. They played. So my thing is this. Where's the continuity? Where's we're going to do the same for everybody? Now, I get the football team had 20, but the Rams have 13. The Chargers had 11. So the Chargers should have had their game moved to Saturday then, right? Based on what we did today. And the thing is, the league was coming out even on yesterday saying that there were no plans to move games. Mm-hmm. You also have fans that have taken the weekend off. People work on the weekends and take the weekend off. Some people off on the weekends. Bought tickets for planes, for games, for hotels. They're going to go to those cities and go out to eat, have a good time. That's not going to happen now on the weekend. So some of those people can't go to games. You said earlier, oh, well, they're going to still be able to sell some of the tickets. Maybe some of them, but maybe not all of them. And here's another thing. You're now setting the precedent as the NFL that you can come in and say, oh, by the way, it's Friday, but y'all ain't playing Sunday. We're going to move your game to Tuesday. It is what it is. And you're taking teams like my team and you're making them play 3 games in 13 days. Mm-hmm. 3 games that could determine if we make the playoffs or not in 13 days. Mm-hmm. We have 2 people that are on the practice squad that have COVID. The football team has 20. I get the difference. I get the variation. But we are being screwed, and we did not even get a chance to know we were being screwed until the last minute. Same thing with the Raiders, So I'm not acting as if we are the only team, because there were other teams that are getting screwed as well. But that's not a good look for fans. It's not a good look for the cities. And NFL, if you're going to make these type of decisions, man, you got to do that earlier. You can't wait until the last minute to do that. It's garbage. It's unacceptable, and I expect more.
Just let Eric's response here for you. Big E. So
what's up, Big
look,
E?
Man.
And what's up, Snowman?
So here's going to be my response. So I want you to think about not just everything that you just said, which I agree with a lot of, but to kind of reference Mark Davis's comments on this, right? Mark Davis said, you're putting the Raiders at a competitive disadvantage for the following week in a divisional matchup against the Broncos, because you're now giving them a short week to prepare for the Broncos.
You're doing it to everybody.
Yeah. Well, you're only doing this to 3 teams, but especially when you have a divisional game in this week, you're putting them in a division, right?
Everybody does this one year.
I'm not saying that the Raiders are the only team getting screwed up. I'm just saying I'm quoting the Raiders owner. Yeah. So just to kind of bring that point up of you're now giving teams less prep time. Now let's compare this to a different approach. Guess what the NBA is discussing right now? The possibility of having replacement players.
Like they did in the bubble. They actually worked pretty well.
Yeah. It's funny how the NBA seems to be the only league that actually understands how to even somewhat deal with this. Because the NFL is trying to get it right. At all. I mean, like, what would happen if us or Atlanta had an outbreak? We played Thursday night against Tennessee. We can't move our game nowhere. What we're gonna do? Play a doubleheader Thursday?
And
baseball now?
The Seahawks are getting the short end of the stick with this as well. So I want to acknowledge that they're another team that's getting the short end of the stick with this as well.
They deserve the short end of the stick.
They don't say that because they're in your division. That's not cool.
It
yeah.
Is. Yeah. I mean, it's 100% because they're my division.
It's to a point, man, with this that we really need that something really needs to happen. Like, I get it. I get players are hurt. Injuries are injuries. Illnesses are illnesses. We're too late into the season. There's no bye weeks unless you're going to say, like, here's would be my solution. You have these 3 teams already. Here would be my solution. Add another week onto the regular season. Let us all play during that week. That way you're not hurting teams like the Eagles, the Raiders, and the Seahawks, because we don't have outbreaks.
Yeah. And you're potentially being punished in a situation in which you're fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Yeah. That's garbage.
Definitely no bueno. Yeah.
That's garbage. And the same thing with the Raiders. And actually the Seahawks I don't think they're mathematically eliminated, but even so, you're still asking guys to go out there and play, another game. You're playing a game Tuesday, and then you're asking guys to go out there and play another game Sunday. Because you're not saying, oh, wait, since y'all got to play Tuesday, you know what? We'll move you to Monday, at least give you an extra day, and we'll just have a triple hitter on Monday. You're not doing that.
Right.
So you can move this game, upset everybody's life, throw everything in a tailspin, but then you're not even saying, well, let's give you at least an extra day. We can put you on Monday next week. You're not even doing that.
Right. No. But hey, man,
Oh,
they care about player safety, though.
And then question. So Chicago and Minnesota, as of this report I read, 17 players between the two teams, COVID. Are you going to wait until Monday and say, oh, well, you guys play Wednesday? Or are you going to say, oh, since you already played Monday, we're not going to worry about it? What are you going to do with that? Those numbers could go up a little bit more between now and then.
And let's be honest. The only reason the NFL finally caved in and decided to move some of these games was because you started having teams with too many star players who were testing positive. And you knew that your ratings were going to plummet if you were putting a bunch of backup players out there in these games. And at the end of the day, the NFL can talk about player safety all they want, but we all know what it's really all about with the NFL. Yeah, money, yeah.
But yeah, man, that's the thing with me with that. It's garbage, man. There's so much other things I could say, but we have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to kind of just say this. At the beginning of the season, you had Aaron Rodgers out there on the field chilling with no mask on, and he was not vaccinated, right? You had a lot of people out there without doing those things. They may or may not be vaccinated, but we know patient zero for the football team was Montez Sweat, first one who tested positive before everybody else, not vaccinated.
Yeah,
he may be able to play. I'm fine if he plays. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Beat them with everybody they got, lose with everybody they got. But you didn't do anything to really help people. You didn't do anything to save people. All you did was just say, for those of you who aren't vaccinated, put a mask on. If you get sick, you're going to have to wait 10 days. And then if you're still not better, you got to wait another 5 days, blah, 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 blah. There was no sense of urgency to try to quell these things before they got out of control.
right.
When you do that, you lead yourself to this. The NBA, they did the same thing, but because they are a reactionary organization, they did say, okay, we're going to go and try to adapt to the changes and make some difference, do some different things now. So applaud them for that. They did that with social justice as well. The NBA is kind of that league right now that I respect more because of how they're able to adjust to things, and they have more teams, more games are affected, more owners, and they're still able to act in a better manner.
Yeah, and to Eric's point, he says what entertainment business isn't about the Benjamins, but here would be my argument. The NBA doesn't hide the fact that they're about money, right?
Yep.
But they still go out and they still consistently show they actually do care about player safety. They show that they actually care about the integrity of the game. They say the flopping was getting out of hand. They made a rule to basically punish floppers. So the NBA actually has shown that they're willing to do things that could potentially hurt ratings or whatever if they feel like it's going to make the game better. The NFL pays a whole lot of lip service to player safety and then does the exact opposite of player safety.
That's because
we just
really
found out.
care.
We just found out this week. We won't dive too much into this subject, man. But I just kind of throw it out there that we just found out that Vincent Jackson, who passed away only 38 years old, had I don't know. I guess you call it second degree CTE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's up, Tyler? I do believe they did fine players, but that
was all last year.
It was also very conveniently not star players.
Yeah.
Now, maybe no star players were breaking protocol. Maybe that's what it was.
Well, Aaron Rodgers was breaking protocol.
But I find that unlikely.
We know he was this year. They did nothing to him.
Here's besides the fact he's not all that great.
That always makes a difference. But
Yes, it
yeah,
does.
there's so many things with the COVID, and um, I think actually I read earlier that a Washington football um, team staffer actually has the Omicron variant, so they have
Yeah,
the Omicron variant in their building now.
yeah,
So yeah, the first team at least that's been reported that's what it is. I think there's probably some other ones. Um,
yeah,
the thing is, man, if you play that team for the rest of you, be very careful, right? Like it's crazy. And I guess my other thing too, last point, what difference is 2 days gonna make? Like seriously, not trying to be funny. This isn't last year where, you know what I'm saying? Like what difference is 2 days gonna make? These people are going out, interacting with people every day. They have families that are going out interacting with people. What difference is 2 days gonna make on a positive note? You may get one or two players back, but then you're probably gonna lose some more. Now their
yeah,
quarterback has also been added to the list. He just got added. So how is he going to have 48 hours in between two negative tests? And he's only got 48 hours.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see, man. I mean, I guess if they can't suit up enough people on Tuesday, I guess they had to forfeit.
No, they'll probably just move to Thursday.
Well, they can't move to Thursday because then that technically goes into the following week. I mean, I guess they could, but
No, the NFL, they just moved to
then
Thursday.
they had to push your next game back, and yeah,
Oh no,
it's
we
sloppy.
still play Sunday. We still play Sunday.
So
Because player safety really matters.
yes, it does. So we got about 25 minutes left, and we still need to get our NFL picks in. So of course, we're gonna talk about this other big story of the week, and I got some personal opinions on this, and we also have some there's a lot of layers to this story. Let's put it that way. So of course, what we're talking about is Deion Sanders flipping the number one. Some people you might say number two because it did depend on what poll you're looking at, but generally considered the number one overall recruit in the country from Florida State over to Jackson State. So this is now the highest ranked player ever to sign with the HBCU. So obviously there are many layers here. So I'm going to address first and foremost my fellow Florida State fans, because those y'all who watch the show, I'm a Florida State fan. So does it hurt to lose a player of Hunter's caliber? Absolutely. Am I going to sit here and tell you that losing the number one recruit in the country doesn't hurt? No. But if there's one area that I'm not overly concerned about losing a recruit at Florida State, it's the secondary, because that's the one area that we do really well in recruiting and developing talent. Don't believe me? Derwin James, Jalen Ramsey, and even the guy who was able to pull this off, Deion Sanders, all went to Florida State. So I'm not overly concerned. And I could give you a whole bunch more names there too. About half of them play for the Eagles. So I know you know some of them. But, from that standpoint alone, I don't really overly stress it. And you've heard me say this many times in the past. I know you said the same thing. At the end of the day, man, if you don't want to be on my team, I don't want you on my team. I'm not going to sit here and cry over you not being on the team because you didn't want to be here. You come out, Florida State's my dream school, but this, opportunity came up. Listen, man, Deion sold you a dream. And I'm not mad at you or Deion. I know a lot of Florida State fans mad at Deion, talking about he not allowed back in Tallahassee. I'm going to respect the man hustle. I'm going to respect the fact that he actually came with that angle, because that's not an easy angle to sell. You and I had the conversation. What's up, Megan? See you over in the chat. Me and you had the conversation earlier in the week that a lot of people do view HBCUs as being inferior. So in order...
I gotta put that one up.
Oh, it's not a face. It's not a face. Because here's what I'm gonna tell you. I give Deion credit, man. He pulled off an amazing recruiting job here, right?
Yeah, I
Now,
did.
there, of course, is the rumors about, the NIL money and all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The state of Florida just passed a new law, basically making it to where the universities can help to procure NIL deals, which was something they
Mhm.
could not do before. Now, the lawmaker says he had been working on it for like 6 months, and it just so happened that it went into law like 2 hours after this. Maybe coincidence, maybe not. If it had got into, maybe a couple hours before, it would help me a little bit more. So I don't really care. I don't really care about after the fact type stuff.
What a
But
coinky dink.
yeah, but you got all these Florida State fans hating on Deion, talking about Deion not welcome back in Tallahassee. Listen, first and foremost, if you're going to burn your Deion jersey, email the show. I will send you my P.O. box number and you can mail me your jersey. I will be more than happy to take it from you before you go burn it. Because them Deion
And if
jerseys are hard to find.
and if it's like the frame joint, like the one crazy dude did with a little authentication and all that, I'll take that one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But
Now,
go ahead, man.
no, so I was gonna say the other group of Florida State fans that got on my nerves this week though was the ones talking about we need to fire Mike Norvell. How could he let this happen? Okay, so let's stop for a second and actually think about this. Despite all the headlines telling you that he flipped him from Florida State, yes, he was committed to Florida State, so technically that is true. But guess who else pursued him quite heavily? University of Georgia. Kirby Smart flew a helicopter to Collins Hill High School. How do I know that? Because it's right down the street from me. So I know what was going on behind the scenes. UGA made a huge push for this kid, and he stayed committed to Florida State. So he didn't just say no to Florida State to go to Jackson State. He also said no to the University of Georgia, who, by the way, is playing for a potential chance to win the national championship this year because they are in the playoffs.
And we'll just call that insider information, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So y'all are over here running around talking about fire Mike Norvell. Hey, let me ask you a question, Cool. You're a Miami fan, so you know a little bit about Florida State. What would you say Florida State's biggest problem for like the last 5 years has been?
That porous line, I would say.
Yeah, that porous offensive line, right?
Mm-hmm.
We brought in 2 transfers and 6 guys in this class on the offensive line. Are we going to be a top 10 class without Hunter? Nope. We are sure not. Does it hurt to lose the number 1 recruit in the country? It absolutely does. But did we take care of this team's biggest need? Yes. And for that, I'm going to applaud Mike Norvell. He actually did a good job of going out and making this happen. Listen, what was Mike Norvell going to do? What was Mike Norvell going to do? He's not Deion Sanders. He's not this dude's role model. This dude did grow up watching Mike Norvell play quarterback at Florida State. He grew up watching Deion Sanders.
Mike Norvell wasn't a star quarterback? What?
No.
Wow.
So that's my thing. It's like we went out and we did the best we could with it. Yes, this hurts. And I'm going to tell you the only thing I'm going to hold against Hunter is this. There's a part of me that does not want this to work out well for you. Not because you shunned Florida State, because I actually don't really care about that. The part of me that makes this not want to work out is I don't want to spend the rest of my life every time they talk about the first number 1 recruit to sign with HBCU. I don't want to have to hear that tagline of he shunned Florida State. I don't want to hear it for the rest of my life. So that's the only part of me that makes you not want to be successful.
Even if he's not successful, I have bad news for you. It's gonna happen.
Well, if he's not successful, the story will just kind of fade off into the abyss somewhere. But
maybe not.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, big thing.
But outside of a little bit of pettiness, man, I seriously, I have no ill will towards him or Deion whatsoever. And I really don't understand why folks are so upset. But I will say this, and you and I have talked about this in the past. This is why I'm against allowing 16 and 17-year-old kids to make commitments because it's too young for them to be able to stick with it. We won't even get into the whole thing about how I feel about when they come out sometime. I'll respect my decision. I mean, go sit your young self down somewhere. But this is why you shouldn't have these kids at this age making these kind of decisions. It's not fair to them, and you got grown men getting upset because a 17-year-old changed their mind. Y'all look foolish.
Well, Megan feels you, man. So you at least got one person in your corner, man.
Dang.
That's cold-blooded.
That near halftime.
I thought was cold-blooded when I saw that. Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm trying to figure out what E talking about. So y'all lost Rock.
Nah, he'll tell us in a minute when he sees it. But here's the thing. Yeah, I feel where you're coming from. Like, as a fan of college football and fan of college football, I feel where you're coming from. But this is very exciting for me. Went to HBCU myself, North Carolina A&T State University, for those of you who may not know, Aggie Pride. But it's exciting because we're not going to always get at these universities this type of a guy, because you're not going to always have a Deion. So I made some comments a few nights ago on a different show where I said that there isn't another guy in the HBCU ranks that would be able to pull players like Deion, and there isn't. Tyler brought up Eddie George. Eddie George was a good player, actually a great player in the NFL. But at the end of the day, what it is that, simply put, Deion is in a different league from Eddie George as far as the other things, not the football itself, because Eddie George is a really good player. Didn't win Super Bowls, Deion did, but Eddie George is a really good player. If you're a running back and you want to learn how to get to the NFL, it's a good place to go if you're going to HBCU, because he can help you with that skill. If you're a fullback, probably can help you with that too, right? But here's the thing. With Deion, it's the sincerity about caring for the kids. It's the fact that he's pulled in so much money to help the university. It's the fact of the charisma. It's the fact of how he has his hands in so many different things that he can pull that off. I related it to like Shaq coaching at HBCU, to which a different person on the same show kind of rebuffed it and didn't quite agree with that. I'll tell you this right here. Shaq has more money in different businesses outside of an NBA and what he does there that is crazy. I'm not even going to take the time to get into him, but he is the closest thing to Deion Sanders as far as a prior athlete moving over to still being relevant doing other things. He's on the TNT show, Papa John's, Krispy Kreme, and I'm just going to stop there. He's got his own show. Like, I'm just going to stop there. But this is what I mean when I say that. Basically, Fort Myers, nice. This is what I'm saying here. We need more of those guys that are at the top. I brought up on that show like a guy like a Ryan Clark because of how well known he is, how he works as a sportscaster. I even brought up Kendrick Perkins. Females that could do that as well, that were previous players or current players that may be in the twilight of their careers in all different sports. It would be great to see some of those people say, you know what, I'm going to go and coach at the HBCU and help, them be able to get better recruits. And I'm not saying that everyone's going to get number one recruits, not even Deion, but this could start people saying, okay, well, there is a blueprint to be able to go and help these universities get some of these recruits. And some of those recruits themselves could say, well, I'm not going to play for Deion, but I can go here. And because there's going to be a spotlight on the HBCUs because they have the arguable number one, number two player in the country went and signed with an HBCU. Maybe Eddie George is able to go out and get some guys to sign with him that are a little bit higher up because now this happened. Maybe some other guys that used to be players go into the HBCUs and are able to do that. And not just football. They got golf, basketball, hockey, soccer, all those sports. Because the selling point, if you're the kid and Deion, is I was a cornerback. I can help you be an NFL ready cornerback in 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's a hard argument for anyone not to say, I'm going to play with you, Deion.
And when you add on to the fact that in Travis Hunter's case specifically, he grew up a Florida State fan,
Mhm.
and Deion is his idol.
Yeah. And then
So,
people talk about the NIL piece. This is the number one player. He can get an NIL deal anywhere. And I'm not saying that they didn't, help him get one that may have been the
yeah,
turning point. We don't know that yet. But we do
yeah,
know that the top player, wherever he went, there were going to be options available for him to get a nice sum of money under the NIL rules. So let's not say like, oh, and not saying anybody here, but I'm saying
yeah,
the conversations I've seen, like, oh, he only went because of money. He's going to get the money anywhere. He's a top player. The top player always gets paid with NILs. Come on now.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Do I feel that the NIL deal could have been a difference maker? Absolutely. If Florida State is not able to help you secure a NIL deal because of the laws that were in the state at the time, that we've already discussed have now been changed. But if those laws say only allow Florida State to go out and get you a deal that would get you 700,000, 800,000, and you can go play for your role model that you grew up watching, a guy who played at the highest level, is in the NFL Hall of Fame for the exact position you gonna play, and they can get you like 1.5, 2 mil, becomes a little bit of a no-brainer, right? So do I think the NIL could have potentially helped make that decision? Absolutely. Do I think that the NIL was the sole reason for him making the decision? No, I don't.
Right. Now I'm going to answer this question that Megan asked. What do you think about Master P's son leaving the HBCU? So, according to reports, he's leaving because of a lack of medical resources. You're Master P. You can't help the university raise money to get better medical resources. Um, you obviously knew going into an HBCU that it wasn't going to have the same level of facilities and resources as a top Division 1 college. So I think he went to the HBCU. He got the money for going to HBCU. The NIL deal. It's already signed now.
Mhm.
So now, hey, I'm gonna roll out after this year because they don't have the good medical facilities, and he's gonna go somewhere else. But what's going to be interesting is he's going to be going with all of his eligibility intact. So he's still going to have 4 years that he can play at another school. So that's kind of funny, right? You go to the HBCU, you get the hype, you get the stories, and then you leave because of something that you knew before you got there, and you still have all your eligibility you're in the transfer portal. Well played, Master P. Well played. That's what I'm going to say. Well played, Master P. Well
I
played.
mean, that's basically what it comes down to, right? I mean, here's the thing, man. Like everybody's talking about, this one move, and I understand why, because it's the biggest domino, right? But people are sleeping on exactly what Dion is doing. Because I'm gonna tell you what Dion is doing is actually way bigger than Travis Hunter. People are focused on that because of that number one next to his name. But what Dion is doing is he's going out and he's getting guys from Florida State, Miami, all these, big schools that are on the depth chart like a little further down. And the thing is, those guys, they are down on the depth chart because they've only been there for like a year. They haven't got much playing time, but they're physically gifted enough to be at those schools. Now, if those guys stuck around in the Florida State or Miami for 3 or 4 years, get developed, they might actually be starters at Florida State, Miami. But guess what? You can go to Jackson State and you're going to be playing against lesser competition. You're going to be able to look better. You're going to actually get on the field. You're going to get developed. And in 3 or 4 years, you'll still be just as good as you would have been at staying at Florida State or Miami, if maybe even better, because you've actually been on the field. And now when you get a chance to go and play a D1 school, because you've transferred all of these guys in and you've built up a roster of D1 talent at an HBCU, and that team has actually stayed together a little longer and developed as a team, you're going to be able to upset some people. What Deion is doing is real smart, and people are sleeping on it because they focus on this one instance, but they sleeping on Deion game plan.
And I can tell you too, with him, I just wanted to quickly tie up the situation with Master P, just for people that may not have heard about it. So he had a leg injury. They misdiagnosed it, told him he could play again. They went to a specialist. The specialist said that he needed to sit out for 6 months. So here's the thing: even for that could happen, right? That could happen in any school.
We've seen that happen in the NFL.
It happens all the time. So I just think that was the excuse to do what the plan was probably going to be after the season anyway. Not mad at him at all. Well played. Like I don't hate on people for getting the coins and using what's hot at the moment for doing that. And if you're the school, at least you got some notoriety for some months because you had Master Pizza in there. But in regards to Deion and what he's doing, here's the thing. I told you before, graduate at A&T, follow the team. We're in the Big South Conference now, and that's not like a major mega conference, but we're HBCU in the Big South, so that's it's at least somewhat impressive.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You come in, you build a powerhouse, you start to be able to defeat all the other teams in your conference. Then guess what happens? A little bit of a higher conference with a little bit more prominence comes along and says, "Hey, Jackson State, y'all want to join us?" Mm-hmm. Because people think, when someone offers Deion more money, he's going to leave. Deion's going to make that university so much more appealing and so much money that he's going to be able to go in there when his contract is up or when he's offered other contracts and say, "Hey, this person's offering me $15 million a year." Jackson State's going to say, "You can get that right here, bro. You got to go nowhere."
So I will tell you, man, and this kind of goes back to what you just said about Master P too, right? Because this is the one problem I have with this idea. So you got a lot of people that kind of feel the way you do, where it's like, hey, even if somebody comes along and offers Deion more money, then the booster's going to dip in their pocket and they're going to make sure that he stays because of the money he's bringing into school. So y'all know that a lot of HBCUs have been struggling financially. That they have inferior facilities and all this other stuff because they don't have the money. Why does it take you getting a guy like Deion in before you open up your pocketbook?
And that's a good question.
Just saying.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. That's for another show.
Maybe if you put the money up front, you'd be more likely to get a Deion.
Possibility. And, I think things are getting better. Happy about it. It's moving in the right direction. This is going to start conversations like the point you just made. So maybe this is going to start to get some of those things happening, and alumni really saying, "Yeah, let's try to make these facilities a little bit better for these kids. So maybe we can get some of these guys to come in." So yeah, I hope that that's the way it goes. These are all things that would be positive for HBCUs, and I hope that we travel down that path. I'm not sold that that's what's going to happen, but that's the hope.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. There'll definitely be more conversation about that as we go.
Yeah,
Megan,
I agree with that. Megan,
she really likes what Becky Hammond said.
Yep.
So it's gonna definitely be interesting to see how all this goes, man. We'll see how all this COVID stuff rolls out over the last few weeks, what impact that might have on the playoffs. That's gonna definitely create some interesting conversations. And Megan also said it's not always about the money and shouldn't have been a masterpiece, son.
I don't disagree.
Dude got his own money, right? So, but man, we gotta get to some picks, assuming that these people are still playing football. Who knows?
Half the games, how can you pick? You don't even know who's gonna be playing.
Yeah, so real quick. I know we're like already bumping up and we're gonna go a little over, but I do have to just say, man, this is only the second actually really good Thursday night football game we had.
Yes, and I have to say, the coach. I'm not even gonna say this dude's name after what he did last night. The coach for the Chargers, bro. What in the world is wrong with you? You left like at least 9 points on the board, and you lost in overtime. So what does that say? If you had took the points, you would have probably easily won that game. Like 5 fourth downs you go for, and some of those were not makeable. Like not makeable.
I'm gonna tell you what I think happened. In all honesty, I think sometimes when teams are going against a high-powered offense like Kansas City's, they get scared. They get scared if they settle for 3. The Kansas City's going to go down, score, and then you're going to get behind. But it's like, at some point, you can't just not score. You know what I mean? It's like you can't like, maybe if you went for like a 1 or 2 4th downs, maybe we understand, right? Like you said, it was 5
Take
times.
the points. And it was situations where it's like, take the points. Just take the points. You're already winning. Just take the points. Like, there was no reason. Tight game. Like, you're only up by 1. You kind of stretch. Like, I'm going to try to get this. We can stretch it out. You're already up. Take the point. Stretch the lead out. You gotta play. I'm watching the game like, this is going to screw those guys over at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about guys missing extra points and how it might come back to haunt somebody. I mean, you pass up on 5 opportunities to get points. That's...
You only get 2 of the 5 successful. It's way too many.
Yeah. So, be raw. What's up, man?
Big Bron Brady.
All right, so man, we got first up, the Patriots at the Colts. It's now the solo Saturday night game.
Gonna go Patriots. I think they're gonna be able to do enough to minimize Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines in the red zone. I think they'll still have big days as far as yards, but I think they're going to be able to clamp down on them a little bit more in the red zone.
I'm actually going to go Colts. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to have a huge game.
Yeah, he can have a huge game, but he's not going to get a lot of touchdowns. That's my expectation.
Well, when I say huge game, I mean I think they're going to control the clock. Rob, you're gonna have to go back and catch the beginning of the show, man. We had a whole conversation about COVID and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we got the Cowboys and the Giants. Cowboys.
I just want to say this, Rob, and Megan, if y'all lose this game, old school.
Yeah. Tyler also took the pass, by the way.
Yes, sir. And the Cowboys.
And he's taking the Cowboys. Got the Texans at the Jaguars.
I'm actually going to take the Texans because I think the Texans are going to run all over the Jaguars, and they're going to be able to get them a win.
You know my rule, man. I always take losers the week after they fire their coach. So I'm going to go Jacksonville. Rob said wishful thinking, by the way.
I'm just saying, Rob, if it happens.
Tyler's also taking the Texans, so I'm on Jaguar Island over here.
It's not a place I'd want to be, but hey.
Yeah, it's not somewhere I'm going to spend a lot of time, trust me. We got the Titans at the Steelers.
Titans.
Yeah, I'm going to go Titans.
Julio's back. Back again.
Well, Julio's on the field. I don't know if he's
back. He's had a week to get himself right. He should be all right. He'll be good. It is the Steelers.
I was also taking the Titans. The Jets at the Dolphins.
You know my rule. Dolphins. Yeah. You know my rule. If you play the Jets, pick the other team.
Got the Cardinals at the Lions.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
Big game for Christian Kirk. I needed Christian. Give it to me.
No game for Christian Kirk. Panthers at the Bills.
The Bills.
You know what? I'm actually going to go Panthers. I think the Bills are on a slide right now.
Bruh, if they lose to the Panthers, bruh. Boy.
So Tyler says Dolphins defense gonna hurt them, laugh out loud. He's also taking the Cards and the Bills. All right, we got the Bengals at the Broncos.
I'm gonna take a shot on this one and go Bengals.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bengals too, man.
The Cincinnati Bengals. Get them a W.
Got the Falcons traveling to San Francisco to take on my Niners.
I was waiting to see who they were playing, the 49ers.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely 49ers on this one.
I was going to pick whoever the Falcons were playing because they're clearly not playing the Jets. So it's going to be whoever they're playing.
But you know what? I'm going to say this. Even though I don't think this is not a game we should really struggle to win, I'm going to take a second just to give a little credit to Arthur Smith for everything this team has been through this year with all the problems they have with this roster, Calvin Ridley, taking off, all this other stuff.
We're not talking about Calvin Ridley.
He's actually done a really good job with his team. I'm actually going to give him some credit. He's actually done a really good job coaching this team this year. So, I mean, we're going to still beat them, but,
Yeah, definitely. Tyler picked the 49ers as well, and he picked the Bengals. So, two clean sweeps.
We got the Packers at the Ravens.
Gonna have to go Packers, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ravens don't even have their quarterback, right? You gotta go Packers.
Yeah, unless I miss something and Lamar is going to be back, Packers should run away with this one. And even if Lamar is there, I'm still probably going to pick the Packers. So
yeah, a mobile quarterback that's injured is not really a mobile quarterback. But I do want to say this. I saw a lot of people talking about, these mobile quarterbacks, they always get injured. Lamar Jackson got injured on a pass in the pocket when he didn't move around. So let's stop the mess. Stop it.
I mean, you remember when that really mobile quarterback, Tom Brady, got hurt and was out for that season, or that other really mobile guy, not Carson Wentz, but used to play for Cincinnati and then went to Arizona.
What was you talking about? What's his name?
His last name was Carson.
Yeah. No, it wasn't his last name. Wait a minute, what was his name? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We know who we're talking about, yeah. Those guys are really mobile, man. Not.
And Jalen Hurts got hurt in the pocket too.
Yeah, and of course, Tyler's taking the Packers. Nope.
Oh,
big shock. All right, we got the Saints at the Bucks.
Bucks.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bucks on that one too. So the
Carson Palmer just came to me.
Carson Palmer, yes. I knew his name. I knew Carson was in there somewhere. Thank you. I don't have to try to rack my brain for that one. The Raiders at the Browns.
I'm gonna say, yeah, I normally would pick the Browns, but they got like Lord knows how many people on COVID and how many people that may get on COVID between now and then. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pick the Raiders in this one just due to this COVID devastation of the Browns. And
yeah,
so true, Eric. So true.
Tyler did take the Bucks. I'm gonna go Raiders here as well. Although at this point in the season, I would normally pick against the Raiders. I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this because even if Cleveland is able to get a lot of people back, those people aren't going to really have any practice time this week, and that matters.
Tyler, that's a strong pick, man. That's showing a little fortitude.
I mean, listen, he's picking the Browns for those who can't see it, but I will say this. If there is a team that you could go out there with very little to no practice and have a chance to beat, it would be the Raiders. Outside of the Jets and the Texans, obviously, but
yeah,
obviously. And the Jaguars.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Vikings at the Bears.
Upset pick of the week, the Bears.
I'm not really sure what qualifies as an upset per se in this particular matchup, but I'm going to take Minnesota.
The Bears.
Then Tuesday, we have the Seahawks at the Rams.
I am picking the Seahawks in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Rams. Because, well, that's just the way the NFC works. It's just the way that it works. We struggle against the Seahawks. The Seahawks struggle against the Rams. The Rams struggle against us. It's just the way it works. Tyler is taking the Vikings. He guesses.
And the Rams.
And the Rams.
So I am on the Seahawk Island, the Seattle Island.
It's quite stormy and rainy there, I'm sure.
That's all right, man.
So the last game of the week, the Washington football team at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm gonna go Eagles on this one.
Please win this game, Philadelphia. Please. As a fan base, we just want to win. Please. It can be 9-6. Just win the game.
Well, man, you know who would never win 9-6? The Chargers.
The Chargers. Most definitely.
So next Thursday, back-to-back potential good Thursday games. You got the 49ers at the Titans.
So there's
Eagles, by the way.
Yeah. There's two caveats. I'm picking the 49ers, but there's a caveat that my pick would differentiate. I know at some point Henry is supposed to get back. You know what now? I'm gonna take the 49ers because even if he comes back, he's not gonna be ready. Take the 49ers.
So Tyler took the Titans and then unsincerely apologized to me.
Unsincerely. Yeah, because I want to. The Titans' defense has been a lot better than most people besides me thought before the season started. It's one of the teams I said was going to have a good defense. Just want to throw that out there. Barry Horowitz myself real quick, but I think that if Travis Henry was back and he had like a week under his belt to kind of get himself together, he had another game before that, and I would choose differently. But I just don't see them being able to do enough offensively 2 weeks in a row to win 2 big games.
Well, I'm not worried about to get Travis Henry back, but if they get Derrick Henry back, that might be a different story.
Well, here's the one thing about my co-host. If you ever want somebody to just try to point out everything you said is incorrect, just say something incorrect. That's all you have to do. Because he's never going to not take the bait. He's never going to just be like, okay, and move it on. He's always got to point it out. So I just chuckle inside because I'm like, watch what he does.
I mean, not every time, but like
every time. Every
99%,
time.
99%.
101% of the time. Every time.
Listen, that would be insinuating that I listen 100% of the time, which is an insult.
100% of the time. He doesn't.
So I'm going to tell you my caveat for this. I'm going to pick my team. Is the homer pick here, but I'm going to be honest and saying why I actually have a concern about this game. We are playing this East Coast, West Coast thing, right? We had to go to Cincinnati last week, fly back out to California to play the Falcons this week, and then we have to fly back across the country again on a short week. Also came out today that Eli Mitchell is apparently still suffering some knee injury that they called more or less a flare-up or irritation. I don't know what kind of irritation keeps somebody out 3 weeks, but
maybe a knee flare-up.
Right, that's what's going on. So without my best running back, short week, traveling cross country for the 3rd week in a row, it creates some concerns. And this is a tough team. This is not an easy game by any means. So I'm just putting it out there. I'm not actually going to be that surprised if we lose this game. But I'm going to pick us just as the homer pick because we could also win this game very easily. But that is my main concern about this game.
Yeah, I think you'll be fine in that one.
So that's it, man. That's all the picks. All we need is somebody to play Wednesday, and we'll have games every single day.
Well, if Washington isn't getting better, maybe they'll move our game to Wednesday.
Maybe, man. Maybe. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate everybody jumping in on the chats and giving us your picks and your feedback for the night. If you're catching this on replay, feel free to comment on it. But even more importantly, feel free to hit that subscribe button so you can actually join us live in the future.
And if you like it, don't forget to hit that like button as well.
So tentatively speaking, we're probably not going to have a show next Friday. It is Christmas Eve. So probably will not have a show. I say probably because there's always the outside possibility that my co-host will get a wild hair up his butt and decide to do a show on his own.
There's nothing that goes on my butt. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing but tissue. Nothing. No wild hairs. Nothing.
Okay. So yes, unless he gets a wild hair wherever it may grow, there will be no show next week. But if he does go live, y'all will get the notifications if you're subscribed. So that's the only way you'll make sure you don't miss it. And otherwise, we'll see you back December 31st. Any closing thoughts you want to add to that, sir?
Go Nuggets. Beat the Hawks.
I don't even know what to do with that. I'm just gonna do this.
The play call.